Hi, I'm back. I thought I'd get started on my videos with the one that started everything for me, so talking openly and honestly about my spiritual awakening. A bit of backstory before I get into what actually happened and what I experienced. I was in therapy. I had conversion disorder, which is where my mind was converting all my intense emotional psychological pain into physical symptoms. So like my brain would start causing me pain in my left arm, so I would then lose the ability to move my left arm, or I'd lose the ability to speak. I lost the ability to walk at certain points. It was well, I've never experienced anything like it. It was like losing all control over everything, and the doctors pretty much don't know what to do when you get to that state. So therapy, obviously, because you're dealing with psychological issues here. So they sent me to therapy, and I started receiving cognitive behavioural therapy because obviously I was in a very bad place. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because I just hated myself so much. I had like no self-worth, just general lack of self-loathing. It was a really bad place to be. It wasn't good. It just hurt all the time. I'd had severe anxiety. I was having panic attacks. My life felt completely out of my control. I didn't know how to get out of my situation or how to make myself feel better about anything because my mind was such a mess, and I was having like emotional mood swings as well, where I'd like be fine and then I'd be up and down like a roller coaster, feeling all over the place if certain things would trigger that. So I wasn't in a good place. And I'll be completely honest as well, I started using cannabis to help with my anxiety and everything like that because it calmed me down. It really helped. I experimented a fair bit with it. I ate some cakes, drank some tea, I had a bong. I don't smoke, so I didn't really smoke it, but it did help in just relaxing me, and I was then more stable than I had been. But obviously going through therapy, and I have a very analytical mind as well, so I began to analyse myself and understand myself better and how I was feeling and everything like that, because I had no idea I had anxiety. I didn't know what that was. So in learning that, it really sort of opened some doors for me, and then everywhere I looked, everyone had anxiety on some level, whether they were aware of it or not. I used to really piss people off by psychoanalyzing them all the time. But going through that process and just really kind of like, trying to get into my own head to sort myself out, because I had to sort myself out, it was making me really ill. It started a process of like really delving into everything about myself. And I found that I had hidden a lot of my past trauma and things from myself as well, because I had no idea how to relate those to my life or anything. So I'd hidden things like self-harming, like not on a big scale, but it had been present since about the age of 4 or 5. So when psychologists say, oh, it's an attention thing, no, it's not seeking attention, because nobody knew I was doing it. I didn't even know I was doing it until I unlocked those memories and remembered that something traumatic had happened to me, and it had triggered this sort of behaviour because I didn't know how to process or analyse what had happened within my trauma. So it had then created this behaviour and that. But admitting that to one of my friends was just huge. It was like this huge weight had been lifted from me, and I don't know what it did to my brain chemistry, but it definitely did something, because I then stopped sleeping, and I started seeing the world in a whole new light and really kind of understanding myself better and getting really happy. So obviously, like, where my brain chemistry was messed up because of being unhappy, it then started to flip in the other direction. But then not sleeping, I don't really know what that did, but it triggered something in me, which then, after quite a few days of not sleeping, triggered my spiritual awakening, which in itself was just totally nuts. I just remember I was I was in bed one night trying to sleep. I'd been watching some film and my mind was working overtime, just really going over things and everything, and all of a sudden it started connecting all these dots. I can't even remember what the dots were, but like, it just, things started to really make sense to me. And the next thing I know, I'm like thinking about this, like, I can't even remember the train of thought that brought it about, but there was a code. And I just remember part of it. It was like, well, okay, why is 3 the magic number? Why isn't 4 the magic number? And then it was like 4. And then from there, the thought of the number 4 led to another number, which made complete sense at the time. I can't even remember what the next number was. And then there were other numbers involved as well after that. And each train of thought led me to a different number. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I'm talking to God. Which is totally nuts. Because, I was brought up Church of England, which is like the most boring religious denomination to belong to. There are no good stories. I mean, we were made to go to Sunday school and stuff like that, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying from my perspective, and, you know, who I am as a person. If you want to engage me fully, then, you know, you need to catch my attention with something and really keep me hooked. But it was just, from what I remember, the same stories week in, week out, sermons, and didn't do it for me. Did not convert me to Church of England at all. It just didn't work. So I had very, like, you know, my belief system was pretty much that everyone believes in something, and I do believe I'll have another beer. So that was me. I had no beliefs. I'd never really thought about God or anything like that. I mean, my, like, kind of, you know, general thing of God was some dude that lived on a cloud who wore flip-flops and sandals. Yeah, I have had no spiritual understanding. I had a friend, thankfully, who was spiritual, and I'll get to that later. But at the time, like, it was pretty weird, and so I'm talking to God, and God's pretty much saying to me, like, you need to slow down. And I'm like, what do you mean? And it's saying, you need to slow down. And I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And it's like, slow your vibration right down. And I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck that means. And I'm like, totally spazzing out. I'm feeling things as well. Like, I'm feeling this really intense love. Like, my whole heart felt like it had wings, like it was this shining light in my chest and it had wings on it, and it was like fucking, oh, it was really, really intense. But obviously the more intense it got, the more kind of I was like, ah, and God's telling me you need to slow yourself down. So I'm like, how? And God's saying, well, just lie in bed and just relax. If you want to be able to hear me, you have to slow down. And I'm like, oh, okay then. So I'm in bed and I'm just really trying to relax and not get totally overwhelmed and not just trying to hear what is going on, because there's something going on. And so God starts talking to me, basically. And I'm like, well, what are you? And they're like, do you really want to know? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to know? All of a sudden, I've come over, I'm feeling really weird. And, you know, my heart feels like it's this huge shining light. I just feel this love coming into me. I want to know more. And that was my choice, to know more. So, God has then said, right, go into the back garden. And I'm like, okay then. So it's like sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was just this really, really still day. I'm sure if I'd been out in the fields, there would have been fog around and that, but the grass was like all dewy and wet, and it was just silence and just so calm. Everything around me was just so calm, and I had this really like peaceful feeling on that. So I went into the garden and I'm just stood on the grass, and God's saying, do you want to see me? And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, you know, duh, of course I do. I mean, you're talking to me in my head, of course I want to see you, you know, who wouldn't? So like I'm just stood there, and they're like, right, okay, close your eyes. And so I'm like stood there, my eyes closed and everything, standing on the grass, just really kind of in the moment. Like, part of my brain's going, I'm going to be sucked up by some laser beams and it's going to be aliens. Like, it's going to be aliens because it didn't feel like, I don't know, it just felt really weird and really alien to me. So obviously my mind's gone to, this is fucking aliens or something, like Stargate and Thor, the little tiny alien dude, I am your god, shit like that. Like I stood there for ages just waiting to go and see God, and all of a sudden, like, they're laughing at me. They're fucking taking the piss out of me. Completely and utterly taking the piss out of me. They're like, you can't see us. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean by... I'm just stood here. And they're like, ah. They said, go back inside. We know you don't like being cold, so go back inside and get back into bed. So I've gone back inside and got back into bed. And I'm then just... lying in bed, talking again, and God said, do you really want to see me? And I said, yeah, I really do. I want to know what this is. So God said, right, okay, go downstairs and into the front room. So I've gone downstairs and I've walked into the front room, and there, sat on my sofa, is my son, Zed, in his little red Angry Bird onesie. And my heart just went, I mean, it just overflowed onto the floor. It was just like, and then my mind kicked in and went, what, Zed's God? So, yeah, that was that part of it. So, for a while there, I was really confused as to what the fuck that meant. Over time, I have finally understood what that actually means to me. It will mean something different to everyone, but this is my experience. So obviously I'm talking from my perspective and my understanding of what has happened to me. So I won't go into that because obviously there's more to the story. And from there, things get a bit fuzzy and a bit surreal. I mean, because that wasn't surreal enough. it gets even more weird. So I then started talking to angels, which was nuts. It was insane. I like felt like I was going insane. It was crazy. I know all the time I can just feel this loving presence, and I don't feel fear or anything like that. I just feel this loving presence. And talking to angels, so I'm on the phone in real life to my mum, and my mum is talking to me in my head at the same time, and I'm like, what? Just trying to hold a conversation and then taking in information that's being passed through my mind as well. It was really, really odd. And other people then began to talk through me. People that I knew began to explain things. So I don't really know what was going on there. I can only assume that I was channeling higher selves of people that I know on Earth. That's my limited understanding of what actually happened. Like, my friend Alana was there, my wifey Michelle, if you're watching this, hi. She was there talking to me, talking through me, so I'm talking in these people's voices. It's so weird. And then I totally lost the plot because reality began to unfold in front of my eyes. I mean, not that it wasn't already unfolding. I mean, that was pretty insane. But I ended up running around my neighbourhood in my pyjamas, trying to jump in wheelie bins and stuff, and I accidentally broke my next door neighbour's TV. And like, my understanding of that and why that happened now is like, whoa, that's nuts. Like, I literally enacted a load of karma on myself that day. But in releasing all my karma, I then had to deal with all my karma to get to where I am now. And yeah, but like, I mean, like, these angels and everything, I mean, they're explaining to me in my head like how they work, how they can be in multiple places at once and everything, and I can see that. I mean, I'm not just thinking it. It's not just thoughts coming into my I can see what they're saying in my mind, and I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird. And I'm just going with what's happening, which ended up with me being bundled into the back of an ambulance and sent off to hospital, where it just continued, it just carried on, and I'm totally fine with the fact that I ended up in hospital because I can see why. I mean, I was running around the neighbourhood in my pyjamas, looking and behaving like a complete and utter nutcase because of what was happening inside my mind. I mean, seeing reality unfold in front of your eyes is, it's pretty out there. So, you know, I don't have any issues with that side of things. It took me a while to get over it, obviously, because I was really pissed off at them to start with. But, you know, as it continues on, it gets easier to kind of understand how everything fits together and that. So yeah, that's the first part of it. It's like 20-minute video now nearly, so I'll leave it there for now, and I will talk more about what happened while I was in hospital and what happened afterwards more in other videos. Okay, thank you.